You know, after any election, once the votes are all counted and the dust settles, there's always that one big question. But what if the answer wasn't just about politics? What if it was about faith and duty and how those two things intersect? Today, we're going to dive into a really unique framework that came out of Sabah in Malaysia right after a state election, and it offers this powerful way of looking at how a community can move forward together.
And that really is the question at the heart of all this. Apa yang seterusnya? Or what's next? It's such a simple question, right? But it sets the stage for a really thoughtful, structured response to what was a pretty complex political moment. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the immediate aftermath of the election. Then we'll see how that flows into a call for unity. The real core of this is what's called the divine perspective, which kind of frames everything else. From there, we'll branch out to the specific role of the faithful, and then even wider to the responsibilities of every citizen, all building up to a really powerful final challenge.
Okay, so first up, the aftermath. How does a community even begin to process election results and figure out how to move on? Well, the source material lays out a very clear and I think very constructive path forward.
So the source suggests the very first response shouldn't be about celebration or disappointment. Instead, it's about civic duty. It boils down to 3 immediate actions. First, just accept the results. Second, actively get behind the process of healing and governance. Help things move forward. And third, make a conscious choice to be a positive force in this new political chapter for Sabah.
So, from those individual actions, the framework starts to build something bigger, a collective response, a call for unity. And what's really interesting is where it begins. It doesn't start with demands or critiques, it actually starts with gratitude.
Before getting into any of the challenges, the text says, hold on, first, let's be thankful. It points to 5 key positives from the election itself. The fact that it was free and fair, that it was peaceful. It also celebrated the rise in civic awareness, the huge role that young people played, and the proactive engagement from the Christian community. And this slide just perfectly captures the next step, a really specific call to prayer. And notice this 2-sided approach. On the one hand, a prayer against all the negative stuff, dodgy alliances, money politics, party hopping, and abuse of power. But on the other hand, a prayer for positive outcomes, like a smooth transition of power and making sure there's no outside interference messing with what the people of Sabah wanted. So what's actually on the horizon? What kind of changes are we talking about? The source breaks it down into a pretty clear timeline. In the short term, you're looking at a new cabinet, new appointments to government-linked companies, the GLCs. Medium term, you'll probably see shifts in big projects and government priorities. And then long term, the focus gets really big, turning to that fundamental relationship between Sabah and the federal government, especially around the historic Malaysia Agreement of 1963, or MA63 as it's often called. And this brings us right to the heart of this whole explainer. This section, A Divine Perspective, gives us the theological framework that everything else is built on. It's the lens through which this whole political situation is viewed. It all boils down to this one simple, powerful idea. No matter what human strategies or campaigns or political moves are made, the ultimate outcome is seen through this specific lens. Man plans, but God determines. It's a concept that really shifts the focus away from human control and towards a sense of divine sovereignty.
And this idea is built on a few key theological pillars. The first one, from the book of Proverbs, really emphasizes that divine purpose will win out. You can make many plans, but the Lord's purpose will prevail. It sets this tone of, sovereignty over human ambition.
The second pillar, from the Gospel of Luke, is all about submission to that purpose. It's captured in that famous phrase, "Yet not my will, but yours be done." It suggests this idea of aligning yourself with a divine plan, even when it's tough. And the third pillar, from Isaiah, is about acknowledging that we humans have our limits. We can't always see the big picture. My ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. It's really a call to trust in a grander design that might not make sense to us in the moment. And a final passage from Isaiah just drives the point home, asserting ultimate control over what's to come. Everything I plan will come to pass. So when you put all these pillars together, you get this framework where, for the faithful, Sabah's ultimate destiny is seen as secure, no matter what the immediate political journey looks like. Okay, so you've got this big theological idea, but what do you do with it? How does that translate to the real world? Well, this next section gets right into that, outlining the specific role of the faithful. It's all about turning belief into action. The source lays out these 4 really cool metaphorical roles. First, to be salt and light, which is about being a positive, preserving influence in society. Second, to act as ambassadors, representing the values of a higher spiritual kingdom. And the last 2 go hand in hand, to be active peacemakers and bridge builders, working to heal divisions and bring people together.
And this is where things get really interesting, because the perspective suddenly zooms way out. This section isn't just for one group of people. It outlines what the source presents as a universal civic duty for every single citizen of Sabah.
And it's laid out as this super practical 5-step guide for being a great citizen. It starts with prayer for leaders, but then it quickly moves to proactive engagement, like get to know your representatives, hold them accountable. Step 3 is a call to uphold truth and justice. Step 4 is about looking to the future, actively finding and supporting good leaders. And finally, Step 5 is about strengthening the community itself to face whatever comes next.
All right, all of this has been building to one final point, one big takeaway. We're at the final challenge, the core idea that really ties everything we've just talked about together. And here it is, plain and simple. The source concludes that while politics and being a good citizen are absolutely vital, the ultimate future of Sabah is believed to rest not with politicians, but in a divine plan. And this conviction leads to a fascinating final concept.
This all leads to this really powerful concept called the citizen of 2 kingdoms. So what on earth does that mean? It's the challenge of living with a dual identity. On one hand, you're a fully engaged citizen of your country, in this case, Sabah and Malaysia. But at the same time, you're a representative of a spiritual kingdom. And the idea is that you have real important duties and responsibilities in both of those realms. And that's what leaves us with this final, really big question to chew on. While we've just looked at one framework from one community, the challenge it brings up is totally universal. How does any citizen, no matter what they believe, balance their duties to their government and their society with their allegiance to some kind of higher purpose? It's a question that's worth thinking about long, long after any election results are in.